Hi, I'm Steve. You're watching Gear Stuff and Things, and today on the channel we are going to do more with the Podgo, and more specifically, we are going to learn about using snapshots and getting the most out of your Podgo. So let's jump into Podgo Edit and start getting into it. Alright, so we're heading back into Podgo Edit, and I am going to teach you all about snapshots and how to become a snapshot master. And get the most out of every preset you make inside of Podgo or even Line6 Helix. If you're not familiar with the snapshots, or you don't use Helix already and you're just someone that has a Podgo, I'm going to get into kind of how they work and what they do in the most basic level and how detailed you can actually get with them. But let's just head into a blank preset inside of Podgo and start building out 4 tones. I'm not sure why I was doing weird finger stuff there, but we're going to create 4 tones using the same amp. So think of it in terms of, I don't know, let's say you have a single channel amp and you like the way it sounds clean, you like the way it sounds dirty, but you can't really walk over to the amp and change the settings in the middle of a song, particularly in a live performance, to get different tones and different variables on the fly. You'd actually have to physically change the knobs. This is going to give us the option of doing this all with a single button and really taking advantage of the power of the Podgo. So let's head over there and start crafting it. So let's find an amp, and I think I'm going to go, let's see, let's go with the Placator Dirty for now. And we will go with Kelly V30 is fine. Alright, so let's get into our amp. Now we're already hearing that it's quite noisy, and we're going to want to do something about that. So before we do any of that, let me explain what the snapshots are. So next to every parameter of everything you pull up, whether it's an amp, or whether it's a cabinet, an effect, whatever, you're going to see these little blocks. And within each of these blocks, you can assign specific controls. In this instance, we want to set up snapshots. So before we get into these little guys, I will point out to you that up here at the top, next to your preset, you have this other snapshot guy. Now you'll see that this is snapshot 1. If you click that, you have 4 snapshots. So for each preset, we have 4 snapshots. So we want to make a clean snapshot. So if I was going to call it clean, I would go to snapshot 1, double click, I would type clean, hit enter, and then I would start crafting that tone. So clearly it's a little too dirty. We don't need that for a clean tone, so we're going to drop our drive down. But in order to use snapshots properly, we need to assign the drive to a snapshot. Right? Still fairly dirty, but that's because the HBE on, which the HBE on a Friedman amp, if you're not familiar, was kind of an overdrive circuit. So we're going to turn that off as well. We're also going to set that up with a snapshot, because it does sound good, and when we go to our dirty setting, we're definitely going to want to bring that back into things. So let's see what we got now. Still pretty dirty, but we can make do. So we're going to drop our bias down. We're also going to add the snapshot there. And I would say what we need to do is bring our volume up a bit. So we're going to go over here to our master. Bring our master up, turn our channel volume down. We're going to assign snapshot to both of those, because right now this is our clean. Still not clean necessarily, but it's close. I'm also going to drop the presence down a bit here. Increase our treble a tad. And I'm going to increase our mids a bit. So we're going to hit save because we're building out this preset. And this all looks good here with the exception of we're going to change the parameters there to be letting a little bit more highs come through. And maybe change our mic out a bit. Also going to set a snapshot here, and I'm going to set a snapshot here. You'll see why I'm doing that in just a second. But for now, this is kind of our clean tone. Again, it's not the cleanest tone in the world, but pretty clean. So we're going to save that. And now let's start building out our dirty tone. So going into Snapshot 2, we're going to bring this drive back up, say around 4 o'clock. Already making a pretty big difference. I'm going to drop our master down, but we're also going to increase our channel volume to being about 9 and drop this down to about 6. We are going to also snapshot our sag and turn it quite a bit down. And we already have a snapshot assigned to the HBE, so we're going to turn that on. You can hear that it's adding some gain for sure. We are going to go down here into our bias and bring that back to 5.0. We're going to hit save. We're going to go into the cab and we're going to switch the mic to the SM57. We're going to bring our distance in quite a bit and hit save. So now we're going from our clean tone to our dirty tone. Now, obviously it's pretty noisy when we're on the clean or on the dirty, so we're going to turn on our noise gate and go into the input gate settings and apply that to a snapshot. We'll then save that, and then we go to 1. You'll see that we're going to save the snapshot as off. So we're doing clean stuff. Lots of room for notes to ring. And then when we go into our dirty, it turns off when we need it to. I'm actually going to bring the volume down a bit on this. So let's take it back down to about 8. We're going to save that. So basically what's happening is going from the clean to the dirty, we're changing amp settings on almost the majority of the knobs. We're changing how the bias functions. We're changing how the sag and the tube bloom functions. We're changing the mics and the positioning of the mics on the cab, all in one button. So this is not something that would be humanly possible on stage. We're doing so many parameter changes in a matter of seconds. But let's say we want to go from here, and on our dirty channel, maybe we want to hit it a little harder up front. So let's put something like, I don't know, the Scream 808 in front. We'll pull our drive back and increase the volume here a bit. We'll drop this back down. And we will save this to this particular channel. So our dirty is now this tone. And that's pretty useful. So let's go into our snapshot here. We're going to double click, call this one dirty, and I want my dirty button to be red. So we're going to save that. And now on the floor unit itself, the light associated with clean is going to be the white light. The light associated with dirty is going to be the red light. This is really handy for when you're on stage in a dark room and you don't want to think about what channel you're on. You can memorize, okay, white I always know is my clean stuff. Red is always going to be my dirty. And just makes it easier, saves you some trouble on stage of not having to pay attention to what is actually on the screen so much as just the lights themselves. So moving from there, let's say we want to maybe add an octave or something. Let's add an octave. So we're going to go into simple pitch. We're going to set our pitch at -12. We're just going to drop it an octave. All right, and let's hear that. And let's say that when we're doing this particular one, we want the bass to go up a little bit, just to really emphasize the octave thing. So we'll save that. Now when we go from a traditional dirty, we will turn that off, save it, and you'll see that our bass drops down. We go from the dirty to our octave, bass jumps up, and the octave turns on. And we go back up. Let's call this -12. And let's say for on-stage purposes, I want octave to be purple. And we will save it. So now we have our clean, which for whatever reason, sometimes when you don't save them in the right order, they repopulate. So now we have our clean. Then we have our dirty, and then we have our octave. Now there's a lot of stuff changing just from using the snapshot alone. So our clean setting, our drive is off, our bass is at 1.8, our channel volume is changed, our master volume is where it is, the sag is a little bit more elevated, the HBE is turned off. Down here, our bias is dropped down a bit. When we go into our dirty, all of these parameters change. Our sag drops, the bias increases, HBE turns back on. Going up here, our bass stays where it was, but our drive, of course, has increased significantly. Adding to that, we have now turned on an overdrive. We have also changed the settings inside of the cabinet. Now we've changed the microphone entirely. We've changed the distance that the microphone is from cab, and that's a lot just for one button. But even moving further from that, go on to setting 3, which is our octave setting. Our cab stuff stays the same, but we added the octave, we changed the bass, and we kept our sag low. This is all being done with a single press of a button. So moving into our 4th setting, which we will call our lead setting, we are going to get rid of this right here. And we are going to bring one of these guys over. I think I'm going to put it after that. And I'm going to add a crazy reverb. Let's do the Plateau Reverb. Pretty ridiculous, right? So this has got some octaves built into it. We've got -12 and we have +12. This is just a fun thing to mess with to really bring in some vibe, and bring up the pitch mix to about 30, and I'm going to take the mix down a bit because I still want a little bit of the tone to come through, And let's hear what we have now with just this. It's not quite as present as I'd like it to be. All right, and we have that. And I'm going to add a delay at the tail here. I'm going to change it to 250. And then we've got some nice ambient lead stuff going. So if I want to do any kind of like speed picking, droney stuff. Hit save and save, and we're just making all kinds of changes with almost no real effort, because once it's done and you have your patches set up, now you just have 4 independent tones inside of a single channel, and you can get a lot of use out of it. So we've got our clean, and for the intents and purposes here, I'm going to turn off the mic so you can't hear the string noise, and then I'll come back. So I'm going to go through all of the channels, and then I'll be right back with you. Alright, and that is how snapshots work. And I realize that I didn't explain it in incredible detail, but I assume me actually doing it and showing you on the screen is more helpful than me just telling you how to do it. But yeah, you can get a lot out of the detail and flexibility of each patch or each preset by utilizing snapshots, because again, within every preset there are 4 snapshots, and as you can see, it is rather endless as to what you can control and change within snapshots. And it's as simple as applying this little guy to each of these little squares, making the changes you want, saving it, moving on to the next one, making the changes you want, saving it. Keep in mind, sometimes you have to do a little bit of backtracking once you've added additional effects and things to make sure those have not been saved to your other presets. It's just a thing that happens with the software. But otherwise, that is using snapshots. So I think if you practice the things that I've shown you here and do it a bunch of times, you will come to have it be second nature, especially when you're using the Podgo Edit software. You could do the same thing on the hardware unit itself. It's a little more tricky to do on the hardware than it is to do on Podgo Edit. So I highly suggest using Podgo Edit when crafting these tones. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell. This is snapshots and how to use them, and hopefully this is very helpful to you. So yeah, go ahead and head back over to non-guitar holding me to wrap up the video. If you like gear, stuff, and things, and you're enjoying the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell notification so that YouTube lets you know every time a new video goes up. And of course, if you like the video, smash that like button. Alright, so those are snapshots inside of the Line6 Podgo using Podgo Edit. Clearly you can see that you can get a lot of flexibility out of each preset with 4 completely different versions of that preset with an endless amount of parameters changed and modified per button. It's really useful in a live setting to just have really quick solutions and do a ton of changes in one single button. Really handy, and hopefully this provided you some information and a little bit of a lesson on how to do that. If it's something you'd like to see me do more with, or more specific things associated with snapshots, or something that's even more stripped down and just creating a very genre-specific snapshot set, I'd be happy to do that for you. As always, there's a ton of music available. You'll find links in the description. Oftentimes the music you're hearing in the background when I'm talking is my music. So if you enjoy what you're hearing there, again, links in the description. There's also a link to GearStuffandThings.com, which is full of a ton of preset packs and downloads for Line6 Helix and Line6 Podgo. So again, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I appreciate you stopping by to check out anything I'm doing here. And until next time, it's been me, it's been you. This is Gear Stuff and Things, and for whatever reason, this position I'm in is causing a weird audio reflection. It's probably a lot to do with me not using a mic and just going straight into the phone, and I guess I won't do that next time. So, see ya.